So I don't know how many of you saw last year's Best Picture Oscar-nominated film, Selma. If you haven't seen the film, you totally should. It's a great movie about the struggle to pass the Voting Rights Act, about the historic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama, that was led by Dr. Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders. So as I was watching the film, I'll be honest, I felt sadness, I felt shame for the horrors, the violence, the racism that so many white people inflicted on black people who were really just fighting for equality. And remember, folks, this is not ancient history. This is recent history. This is the 1960s, not the 1860s. Not that that's ancient either, but that was my response to seeing this film. It was sadness and shame. However, folks, it looks like some Republicans in the state of Alabama might have had a slightly different response to the film. They saw the racism depicted in Selma, the suppression of black voters, and instead of feeling shame, it appears that some people in Alabama were inspired, and they thought, we need to get back to the good old days where we made it as hard as possible for black people to vote. So about a year ago, the state of Alabama, which again is the setting of Selma, passed a controversial voter ID law. Now, conservatives watching this might say, oh, what's the big deal? Everyone has an ID, except that's actually not the case. Just specifically about Alabama, a 2014 study found that between 250 and 500,000 currently registered voters in the state of Alabama do not have an accepted form of identification required to vote. You heard me right, I'll say it again. 250 to 500,000 currently registered voters. We're talking about 1/4 to 1/2 million people who could vote before the law was passed, but now cannot because of the voter ID law. That is a hell of a lot of people. So, look, that's bad enough, right? That's bad enough, but it actually gets worse. So, now, fast forward to today, a couple weeks ago. Now you need an ID to vote in the state of Alabama. The state recently announced that it will be closing 31 DMV offices. Not opening more offices to allow people to get voter IDs easier. No. They're closing 31 offices. And I know folks are going to be shocked to hear this, but the majority of these closures, they're in poor areas, they're in rural areas, and surprise, surprise, they're in counties where the majority of the residents are black. I know, you're shocked, right? In fact, every single county in Alabama where 75% or more of the registered voters are black, there will no longer be a place in their county for them to get an ID. Folks, the racist, segregationist Governor George Wallace, he would be so proud of the current government in Alabama. Make a law requiring to get ID and then make it harder to get that ID. Folks, it's time we stop kidding ourselves here and face the fact that a good amount of the Republican Party in the United States does flat out not believe in democracy. They don't. And look, most of you know, I'm not a big fan of the Democratic Party, but dear God, at least I'm not trying to stop the other side from voting. Republicans are. Since 2011, guess how many states have passed laws making it harder for people to vote? Take a guess. Think in your head. The answer? 21. 21 states have made it harder for people to vote since 2011. And one of the main ways is what we're talking about here, these racist voter ID laws. And again, I can hear some conservatives watching this saying, well, racist? Oh, no, the law's not racist. I mean, just because the law mostly affects people of color, just because the law keeps black people from voting, doesn't mean that the law is racist. Right. Stopping black people from voting isn't racist. Just like Republicans who pass these laws totally believe in democracy.